Welcome to the Ken and Mike Show. Mike, hi. How are you?
Hi. It's the Thanksgiving version.
It's the Thanksgiving version. And happy Thanksgiving. So, for those who are watching today on Thanksgiving, hope you're having a great one. If you're not watching this on Thanksgiving, it's some other day. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate
Hopefully you didn't buy a Butterball turkey like I did.
You're gonna have to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll have to keep it within the censors. Have you heard anything about this, Ken?
No. Nope.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Wow. All right. Well, I probably should bring up the article to show veracity to what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Apparently, PETA is investigating Butterball because employees apparently are being investigated for.
Oh boy. Are you
tasting
serious?
turkeys?
Are you serious?
Yes. They're, yeah, I guess they're tenderizing the meat, if you
will. Well, somebody's got to do it.
I apologize to our listeners. I don't know a proper way to say this, but apparently they're doing appropriate things for the turkeys and getting caught. And with the turkeys before they even get into packaging. So apparently they're freshly killed. You can look at the article up yourself. I didn't know we were talking about that. I apologize even brought that up.
But, no, it's all right. I didn't know anything about that
at all. Yeah, I thought it was a joke that was going on TikTok. You know, I'm going through the social medias and I'm looking through stuff, and all of a sudden this woman come across my feed that everybody needs to be concerned about their Butterball turkeys. I'm like, why? I got Butterball turkey with a salmonella outbreak or something like that. And then no, I just found out that brine isn't the only thing that they're packaged with.
You won't say what the ingredient is. It's just it's not brine.
Yeah, it's not brine.
Well,
and yeah, I don't know what else to say, dude.
I'll tell you what. I'll help you. I'll help you out here. So I actually, I've got some. I'm not gonna put you on the spot and quiz you. I'll tell you that. Let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, since we'll keep it on a light note as we kind of begin the show, and then we'll get heavy. And then
welcome to the Ken and Mike show. We just jumped right into it and violated your feast.
That's right. But hey,
I'm having visions of the movie American Pie.
Yeah, oh gosh, that's right. But listen, everybody. Again, the Ken and Mike show is back. Of course, we do have our. Yeah, that's right. We do have our last show. I don't know the air date at the top of my head, though. You can check that out. You check out all our previous shows. We have some great ones there. But we came back last week. It's so good to be back. I am in Tennessee, if you haven't heard, and Mike is still in the belly of the beast over there in the great upstate New York, and he's fighting the good fight there. But we have some fights of our own, of course, in here in Tennessee, which we're going to get to as well. And then, honestly, Mike has brought something to our attention as well. Really want to hear from Alec Baldwin. He's got some really good things to say. The guy's brilliant. He's not just an actor. He's
brilliant. All right.
I'm not being facetious or sarcastic. So we'll hear. Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah, right. So we'll hear what he has to say, though. We'll hear a little bit from him. But let's begin with some Thanksgiving facts. Mike. Let me see here. Let me look through here real quick. Let me take a look. Let's see here.
Well, the official Thanksgiving date has changed a couple times. It went to the third Thursday or the fourth Thursday of the month of November, and that was by. I do know this. I know this.
Yep.
I'm on the spot, so I'm not going to know this. Go ahead, tell me.
The official first Thanksgiving in Plymouth type of thing.
Oh no, I thought we were gonna do. You're gonna quiz me on a little bit of history about Thanksgiving in terms of when it became a holiday and all that neat stuff.
Oh, we can do that as well. The first Thanksgiving feast happened that was 1621 with 3 whole days dedicated to the celebration. So that's kind of way back there. Let's see. Okay, do you know who the tribe was?
No.
So I don't know how to pronunciate their name. It starts with a W. It's like the wanna peo
Yeah.
or something like that. Uh, I looked that up again. It's something like that. I kind of had that in my head. We'll look that up. But here's a different one for you. We'll get to the next one. What would be the first? Let's see here. The tradition of football on Thanksgiving began in what year?
I
Take a
I'm
guess.
gonna go out on a limb here and say 1984.
Wow. Okay. Go. I want you to go even way further back than that. Go.
Oh, really? Well, the National Football League wasn't established. All right, you want me to go back further? All right, I'll go out on a limb here. 1947.
So actually, the tradition of football on Thanksgiving began in 1876 with a game
What?
between Yale and Princeton. The first NFL
Wow.
were played on Thanksgiving in 1920.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, taught me something. I didn't know that.
I'll meet something. I didn't know this either. Okay, let's see here. Which I guess founding father, so to speak, wanted the turkey to be the national bird? I'll just give you
Ulysses S. Grant. I don't know.
bifocals.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yes, that's exactly right. um, let's see here.
Well, I do know it was recognized nationally in like 1863.
Oh my gosh. So 1863. So you're exactly right. Do you know who declared that?
Mm, no.
Okay, so let's see here. The name seemed da da da. She wrote. So it looks like the letter was sent to President Abraham Lincoln and Secretary of State William Seward in 1863, calling for the declaration of Thanksgiving as a national holiday. You were right on the spot, man.
That date only I'm only remember the date, and it's not because of my superior intellect here. Trust me. Back when I used to run a youth group, I remember teaching on it and had to brush up on it, and that date always stuck out in my mind for some reason.
Well, here's one that you're gonna really like especially you. You're gonna Butterball.
I got one in my fridge.
I wouldn't eat it. Butterball has had a turkey talk line for nearly 40 years. So if you find yourself with a million questions about cooking your
Is
turkey,
it a 1-900 number, Kenny?
yeah, it probably is. It's a Butterball turkey. It could be. It's really there. It's open to US and Canadian homes. I'm sure people are calling that right now because they're disturbed and distraught about their Butterball turkeys that's gone a little wild.
Oh my god. There's a gobbler joke in there somewhere.
There is. Oh goodness. Let's see here. What other facts do we have here that's actually interesting? I don't know. I had a whole bunch here. Uh, well, we know about the Thanksgiving at Plymouth in September 1620. A small ship called the what?
The what?
Yeah, what was it called? The small
What?
ship in 1620 that sailed over.
Oh,
Left left
I thought there were
Plymouth.
three of them.
I'm sure there was. Left Plymouth,
The Nina, the
England.
Pinta, and the Santa Maria, wasn't it?
I think there were some of them too, but the Mayflower is what I was thinking.
Oh no, that was the. Oh
Into
wow,
the
I'm
New
really
World.
sound like an idiot here. No, you're right. Flower. You
Sorry.
can edit all this out so I look like a complete idiot online.
No, I would have probably said the same thing. Oh goodness. So they had the Native Americans. I thought I had the oh goodness, what was the name of them? Goodness gracious. I had it here somewhere. It was goodness. I have to get back to you on that. It was called the
Well,
oh,
here I got
that's
some
it right there.
information. I got some information right here.
Wampanoag.
Yeah,
Wampanoag.
the Wampanoag contributed venison,
That's right.
fish,
Yep.
eels, shellfish,
Did
stews,
you
and
say eels?
vegetables. Yeah, eels.
Oh gosh.
And they drank lots of beer and liquor. Oh, they had a good old
These,
time.
these Christians.
Yeah, they were
That's
struggling to speak in broken English with the. I'm not going to be able to say that tribe's name either. Uh, but it was a disorderly affair. But it sealed the treaty between the two groups that lasted under King Philip's War in 1675 to 76,
dang.
in which hundreds of colonists and thousands of Native Americans lost their lives. I found that in Britannica.com.
Right. You know what? That's good. And you know what though too with the feast with everything that was on the table, it's interesting. I'm not sure when it was. I'm sure you could find it somewhere. Like when did the turkey come into play? Like because it wasn't. That's not what they had. They had like you said, venison, eel, all that nasty stuff. Venison's good. Eel I would not touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd try that either. And I'm sure it wasn't Butterball that was there.
No, I don't
Apparently,
think
it's
so.
still making a sacrifice today.
Simple.
I'll be here all week, folks.
Cha-ching. Speaking of cha-chang, hey, listen, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. It's the Ken and Mike Show at YouTube. We are also on Facebook. We are going to start. We were just discussing even before this show. We do want to do something where we bring everybody up in on the chat while we do a live show. We're going to start
Yes.
that once a month. You guys can chime in. We can even bring you on at times. Like I said last time, unless we just don't like you, then we just censor you and kick you off. Period.
Oh, yes, because we don't want disinformation.
Right, even if it's right.
We
And
we
then
want to be we want to be the arbiters of really good, truthful information. And if we can be fact checked and be silenced, then we can do it to you too.
that's right. But don't fact check us, please, especially on
we're we're
our
we're
turkey
equal
facts.
opportunity censors.
That's right, exactly. So that is a little bit about Thanksgiving, but traditionally, I know for our family, I mean, I'm not. What are you doing for Thanksgiving, Mike?
Thanksgiving, I'm just gonna have myself, my children, and here making a meal. I'm
Okay,
gonna cook Thanksgiving probably for my second time on my own here. Hopefully, I don't burn the turkey.
for that,
But yeah,
didn't you have a fire
yes, I did have a fire here
years
about
ago?
7 years ago. Yep. Yeah, that's because we were cooking turkeys for the church.
That's right. That's right. And there was a grease fire.
And yes, and with the church, if you remember going to the church, you had to have the turkeys there early. So this is one of those things where we cooked it overnight because turkeys, it's not something you can just throw in the oven and have it done in an hour. They take hours to make.
Yep.
And we volunteered to cook two turkeys for the church. And I remember it was middle of the night, and all of a sudden, smoke alarms started going off, and we couldn't figure out why. And when we opened the oven, I guess that was the worst thing to do, um, because all of a sudden oxygen hit this grease fire, and then our next thing you know, we have a ball of fire coming out of the oven engulfing our kitchen.
That's right.
That
I
was
think it
fun.
was it who was it? Eric Schnackenberg actually was came over.
Yes, Eric came over here with the fire department, and we didn't want to reopen the oven, but we know it was a extinguishable fire in the way it was. So they literally took the whole stove out into their front yard and opened it up there and extinguished it there.
That's
But
awesome.
the scary part was it was a gas stove, so we had to make sure all the valves are closed and
Oh my
all.
gosh, that's right.
It was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Good thing that nothing blew up. Holy moly.
Yeah, but yeah, but hopefully we don't go through
Definitely
that
some
again.
turkey jerky there.
Yeah, well, we figured out what caused the problem, and don't be careful when you're especially if you have a gas oven, which I do again. But if you're using those big aluminum foil pans, turkey pans,
Hmm.
when you slide them into the oven, make sure the rack that goes on doesn't penetrate the bottom of the aluminum.
Oh my gosh, that's what happened.
Yeah, so the whole time it was cooking and all the grease and everything was just draining out into the bottom, into where the flames were, and that's what caused the problem.
We almost had that happen a little bit with we had a family over and they were cooking a meal and they put meatballs like real meat like greasy meat. Good, it was yummy, but it was like they put it all together and they did all these meatballs on a cookie sheet. All that grease was falling over into the gas stove, and all of a sudden, one of my oh goodness, who was it? One of my sister-in-laws walked in, like, yeah, your house. I opened the windows because the house was a little smoky. I'm like, oh, it is? Okay, interesting. So I walked in there. I was like, oh my gosh. I opened the thing. It was just like, I was like, oh my god. So I went in there just gently because I was like, I took the pans out and then I just wiped the grease out before they started kind of caving into the fire. So thankfully we thwarted that, but it can get scary real quick.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. So
So, so what is new in the world of politics this week? And I have full disclosure. I am I'm not up to date. I got a little busy this week, so I haven't been able to engulf myself in the litany of toxicity that goes on social media this week.
yeah, let's just jump right in. So a couple of things I kind of put out to you. I do want to say one thing that's kind of, I would say, still hot in the press is, well, we have, of course, a border crisis, whether you would like it or not. So we don't have to touch
Mhm.
too much on it, but that's still going on. And I was funny, interesting enough, I was looking at facts. This is back in August, but there was startling facts, and it's a fact sheet. You can go right on to Homeland Security. Essentially, you can go right there on their website, so it's not like hidden. And when you go there, the startling facts fact sheet of the fiscal year of 2024 ends with nearly 3 million inadmissible encounters, 10.8 million total encounters since the fiscal year 2021. All right. So there's graphs here, of course, and it shows you it's insane. From 2020 was like 3 million. You get to 2021, it's all upwards of 10 million. So when you take a look at these graphs, which I know I'm not displaying them as of right now, but here's some key facts for you. Since the start of fiscal year 2021, Customs and Borders Protection has recorded more than 10.8 million encounters nationwide, including more than 8.72 million at the southwest border. Since January 2023, more than 852,000 otherwise inadmissible aliens have scheduled appointments through the app. Now you've heard of that app, right?
Yes.
So that's sick in itself. So that you have that, and I've actually watched somebody display how that app works, and it's actually completely insane. Since the program began, 531,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans have been mass paroled under the administration's CHNV parole program at ports of entry, and so on and so forth. So you can look at all of this fact sheet, and it just tells you how insane it is. And that's not counting who these people actually are. Doesn't they, which they can't vet them all, but we do know that the amount of rapists and murderers and all of those things, as Trump has pointed out, which I know they don't like that he does it, but it's the truth, that are here. Now, I wanted to tell you, and I don't mean to keep going on here, but I spoke with a family. It was actually just yesterday. I won't mention names or anything like that. Great family, and they are Mexican immigrants. And they literally came in completely legal, paid a lot of money, did all the testings, had to work, did all these things. And people like this who literally came here, they are absolutely for the border. They
Yep.
definitely think that you should adapt to the culture, and they
Yep.
absolutely think that you should be here to work and to raise your family because you want to live the American dream. So you adapt. So again, Savage used to say borders, language, culture. Without that, you do not have a country. You're going to say
You're
something.
right. Well, I have a very similar experience to that. Back when I had my shop down the local city near here,
Yep.
I had a couple clients that were Latin American, Mexican, and the whole litany, the whole of South America. And I had one in particular that I remember speaking to, um, who I think it was probably more patriotic than half the Americans I know. Who I mean, even so far as he had the Statue of Liberty tattooed on his forearm, and the American flag on his other forearm, and he was a Mexican American. And he said the same exact thing. And he said, "Hey, I came over here illegally, and but he went through the proper channels, and he's now legal." I didn't get into the details about it, but I did know he stated pretty much the same thing. That he said, "Us Americans, don't know how awesome we have it.
Mm-hmm.
It actually disgusts him to see." people who are born here, who are citizens here, say and treat the country the way they do, um, and act the way they do. And he even went on as far as to say is that the people that are coming over here and not showing respect to our country and our culture, it disgusts him. And this is coming from somebody who's not a natural from here.
Right.
And so when they can see it, but our own political powers that be cannot, I think that speaks volumes. And that's why it ticks me off when you hear the things about like the governor out there in Colorado, who is saying he's going to stand up and use local police forces to hold off our own federal government from doing any sort of deportation of any of the
Oh,
people that
yes.
they have in the state. And
Unreal.
it's like, I mean, I love Holman's responses. Game on.
Yeah.
He says, and they're illegal. So, long story short, is if these people are breaking the law, and the Constitution says if you harbor any any illegals from other countries who aren't citizens, you are breaking the law. It'll be interesting to see if he's being, if this administration is being boisterous and just threatening it, or if they will actually put their money where their mouth is and start enforcing the laws and even locking up officials who are breaking the law and harboring these illegals.
I'm for it, man. I was just so interesting enough in that conversation yesterday. One thing is that they were we were talking about is a certain country coming over here, and a lot of them that where they're pouring in from too are just being in. They're taking advantage. They really aren't. They're not coming here to work. Way
No,
back in the day, even I look at when I lived in Guatemala, I met people that were in the city who told me their stories about like where they walked across Mexico and they got to the city and they would work and they would work and they would work, and they were really literally doing it just so they could make a better life for their folks in Mexico. And I got my American flag falling down on me here.
I
Um,
just saw
that's all right though. We're just gonna keep rolling. So essentially, that's the kind of thing that happens. And I honestly, I that doesn't bother me as much as when these other people are coming in and literally just taking advantage of the systems. Like, hey, we've got something to give you. You go ahead and you can have it, type of thing. So that's a bothering that bothers me. It's for
I
free.
have to say, full disclosure, the caveat to this is I am not hateful of the people
Not
at
at
all.
all.
So because the first thing you do is you start talking about the border and how we should be kicking out illegals and upholding our laws. You're tagged a racist or intolerant, this, that, and the other thing. Listen, if I was born in South America or anywhere, Venezuela, Mexico, and I knew there was a better place north of me that I could easily get on, easily, I use that word loosely, but if I can just go across, make a better life for my kids, and I knew there were probably was if I made it that there would be no repercussions for it, even though I knew I was breaking the law, if it made a better life for my family, I think I would take the risk as well. So I'm not blaming the people that do it. I'm blaming the officials that perpetuate it,
Exactly.
that encourage it, and then when they go to a port of entry and claim asylum, they ship them off to any destination that they want to, plus give them the money and the sustenance to survive. Meanwhile, we have people in our own country that can't even survive, who are veterans of wars, who are homeless, and we can't even take care of our own. But yet we can fill up debit cards and EBT cards for these people, and you know, put them up in hotels in New York City.
Exactly. Yep. And that's a big
Yeah,
problem.
that,
Big
that, that
problem.
makes that makes me sick. And if listen, I will go out on a limb here, and I will even say this, and this is a very extreme position, and I'm very well aware, and I can be labeled for it. And God forbid, I hope we don't cancel the Ken and Mike show after just coming back after two shows here. But I am all for it if your local authorities will not support and will not uphold the Constitution that they swore an oath to when they took office. Listen, I am all for you just grab the military, You roll in all the artillery that you want to the show force, load people up, and put the governor of Colorado right in there in the back of the tank too, and drop him off across the river. As far as I'm concerned, I don't
Agreed.
care.
Agreed. Because that's the thing. And that's what we were talking about last night too. Is like we at this point, because of how far it's gone, drastic measures do need to be taken. And again, it's no disservice to many of these people who are coming over. Many of them really are just trying to get a better life. But when you have an invitation, open invitation, like you were saying, of yeah, just come on in, just come on in. It's easy now. That why wouldn't they? That I mean,
I'll bring it one step further. I'll get canceled for this one.
yeah, and keep
You
going. I'm
ready?
gonna fix my flag while you're talking.
Okay. I I'll go out on a limb and even say this as well. If you had a show of force on the border, and if you had people literally full arms enforcing the border, telling them, "Hey, you cannot enter, you cannot enter, you do not enter," and it'll take a sacrifice, and I hate to say it, but it'll take one act of somebody firing a round off, and you know you're risking your life coming into this country. I bet you we would see these parades of people turning around and going the other direction.
Yep, exactly.
Um, and it's sad to say that, and I'm not saying to disrespect life or belittle it at all, but listen, we're not a country. If we don't enforce the border, you get one guy that finally is going to have enough. And listen, if it wouldn't wasn't punishable in our court system, listen, it takes one border patrol guy to say this is enough. And we if we allow and we say, hey, shoot on sight. I know it sounds extreme. It sounds extreme. I know it, but I tell you what, it would end it.
Exactly. Look at I get what you're saying because the reality is when you're breaking the law, when you're constantly, and again, a lot of these folks are not all of them at all. I've ran into many of them are not good people. We've seen, let's just be clear, we've seen many cases, many cases, rape and murder,
Yeah.
things that are just unspeakable acts by some of these folks. And
Hey,
most of the times they got a slap on the hand a few times and got let back out and then did something completely uh
look,
unthinkable.
I'll go even more extreme, man. Listen, there was a time in this country, and then we are a lot more civilized now. I get it,
Yeah.
but there was a time, and you hung your criminals in the streets.
Yeah. Yes.
There
Yeah.
was a time where
Public
you know
hanging. Yep.
the greatest thwarting of crime is seeing what the consequences are going to be right there in front of you.
Yep.
You have all these people screaming against the death penalty and all that stuff, and hey, I get it. I understand your empathy and your compassion, but if we start institutionalizing extreme repercussions for breaking laws, you won't need as much of budgets. You won't need as much of manpower because people will start saying, hey, they're enforcing the rules. There's the repercussions for doing things that you're not supposed to do. There's consequences, holding people accountable. Your problems will go away. You start, let's take some pages out of some of the books in the Middle East where you get caught stealing, you cut off a hand. You know,
Exactly. Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's the what we should do here, but hey, I'm all for let's start hanging people in the streets for raping children. Let's start hanging people in the streets for capital murder. I mean, if there was consequences, I guarantee you things would change. And we start enforcing the laws. Listen, Kenny, if you and I go over to the Middle East and just willy nilly walk across the Iranian border, what do you think's going to happen to us?
Oh yeah, we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Done.
Do you think they're going to care that we're going to have people protesting out there, holding picket signs saying,
Exactly.
"Oh, you're not nice enough to humanity"? That you're they don't care.
Exactly. That it's funny you say that. I talk about that, I'm sure you do too, all the time with people. It's like you come here or we go somewhere else. We don't take advantage because there is consequences in those
Right.
places. Now, many people say, well, that's barbaric. Well, you know what? I think abortion is barbaric. So I mean, we can go we can keep going down that rabbit hole if you want to. The reality is that we need to start doing to the bad people what bad people are in need of, and that is a good consequence. Period.
There's a place for being barbaric, and I believe that.
Yeah,
There's a place
yeah.
for not giving a four-letter word
A rip.
about. Yeah.
That's three, I think. Right.
You can add another P to it. Still says rip.
Yeah. Well,
But
listen.
anyway.
Let's say this though. We're you and I are saying a lot. I want to hear from Alec Baldwin. I want to hear what he thinks. I want to hear
Oh,
what he thinks about us and how informed or uninformed we are. So let's see what he has to say. I'm gonna go ahead and get that prepped here. Give me just a minute here. But yeah, you go ahead and give us a little synopsis of Alec Baldwin in your opinion. Don't give
well,
too.
yes. This was a man who is definitely on the echelon of upper echelon of intellect, and he definitely knows more than you or I do because of his stature in life and his bank account and all the things that he's accomplished in his acting career. That he is so in touch with the everyday American that we have to listen to what this opinion is of his.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what Mr. Old Alec Baldwin has to say here.
Learn from the news. Television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money. And again, not to go into great detail about that, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on with climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world. Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. That vacuum
Americans
is
are
filled by the film
uninformed.
industry, not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, which are very important.
So Americans are uninformed.
He's brilliant,
Um,
Mike.
yes. So he just marginalized everybody who doesn't think like him,
Exactly.
who doesn't um, have the same political views as him, people who haven't offed fellow actors on stage like he has. Uh, uh, yeah, because he is definitely in
It just
touch.
hit me for a second. Literally, no pun intended. It just hit me.
Yes. So he's cornered the market on intellect and what American people understand. And but do you think he suffers to decide whether or not he puts food on the table or fuel in his vehicle?
No, and that trial didn't do anything, didn't touch him barely. He's got
No.
enough to cover him for decades to
But
come.
he's so in touch. I was insulted that he would say, Americans just are out of touch and we don't know anything.
No, not at all. Nothing.
But but Hollywood fills that void. Hollywood fills that vacuum that he's referring to.
Yeah,
So is he saying that it's only his people who know, people who he rubbed shoulders with that know what's really going on? Because Ken, you don't know anything about climate change.
no, I don't.
You don't know anything about
Dark
the Ukraine.
outside. Right.
Uh, are we? Well, let's take. Listen, I've had this discussion with a few people in my life. Where do you get your information from? I mean, every opinion that you have has to have come from somewhere. Mine, yours, theirs. We like to think that we're all free thinkers, and we all like to think that um, we have superior intellect uh, to most people that are around that we have the corner on it, and I'm not excluding myself from that. I mean, I like to think that I know a lot as well, but the truth of the matter is I don't, and my opinions are often formed by the information that I allow myself to listen to and I allow myself to view. But if you've kind of cornered and pigeonholed yourself into one source that you're getting your information from, and that's what these people do. Your MSNBC, your legacy medias, your ABCs, your CBS, and all that stuff. That you're just repeating the same talking points that you've been fed to or fed from these outlets. And he knows it all because all the people you got. I venture to say not there isn't much diversity in the thinking of all the people he hangs out with. I'm sure they all were. Well, I'm sure pretty much most of them all think the same, walk lockstep with each other.
Oh yeah.
I would think that'd be an accurate assessment.
Yeah.
So, but I know you, myself, and a lot of people that I run with and that are around me, and you do the same. We have a mix of people around us, do we not? I mean,
Yeah.
and where I get my information from, trust me, is not Fox News exclusively. Certainly isn't MSNBC exclusively. Certainly isn't CNN exclusively. But I think where a lot of and I'll be honest, and it may not be intellectually sound, but I get a lot of my information from social media. Not saying social media is the arbiter of good information, because there's a lot of crap on there. You got to learn how to filter it.
Yes.
But when you have people that are able to freely speak without having to be policed by a paycheck, like these corporations do, look at Chris Cuomo now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a change of narrative that is coming out of his mouth when he doesn't have a big corporation over him putting a bridle on his mouth.
That's a.
I'm not saying I agree with him 100%, but the message that's coming out of his mouth now, that he's be able to do what he wants to and speak freely and be and coming at us from another media source,
not the same narrative.
To the big corporate world, it is not the same at all.
Yep.
And and so when you have your Alec Baldwins out there saying Americans don't know what the heck they're doing or thinking, it's because he's in a bubble out there. They're all in a bubble, and it's what do they call that? Not just preaching to the choir, but they're in like an echo chamber of their own.
Yes, like a vacuum.
And yes,
we say we were in a vacuum. He's in a vacuum. Like he literally is. Like I think we were talking about filters in our backgrounds, and he would be the space filter. It's like, what are you doing, Alec?
Yes.
If you Hollywood folks could be on your own planet, you do very well for yourselves. I mean, you just do your own thing while we actually live life in reality down here. It's super sad to think that these people really do, like, especially because let's be real. Growing up, a lot of these, not him, some of these people were our childhood heroes in a sense, because we watched them on TV. They were great. And then as you get older and start to realize a lot of these folks, I thought their politics wouldn't be the way that they are today, but they are. And we grew up in an era of common sense. You put your facts together. You do good by other people. The essentially the sphere of influence that we have defines kind of our platform, our foundation. And as we grow, we kind of still stay on that foundation. But people change. That's good. We all want to be able to change, be open. And when I say open-minded, I hate that wording sometimes, because everybody's like, "Oh, I'm very open-minded to this and that and the other thing." I get what you're saying there, but I don't think you always have to be open-minded. I think that you just have to be very cautious as you walk forward and use wisdom and discernment in anything that you do. You can listen. Doesn't mean you have to be completely open-minded about it.
Trump is in the White House. That means Ken and Mike are out of the outhouse and back in the studio for the Ken and Mike Show. So if you want real, honest talk with a dose of entertainment, no need to look any further. Ken and Mike have you covered. Ken and Mike are returning with an all-new show, but with the same potent and highly absorbable nutritional ingredients: truth, sarcasm, wit, and humor. New episode drops every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, starting November 21st on all major platforms. So tune in and join the conversation with Ken and Mike on The Ken and Mike Show. The Ken and Mike Show is not FDA approved and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your doctor and or therapist before listening, as it may cause major side effects triggered by truth.
Back.
I can't fake my segue now, because we came in so naturally, and then we just never hit record.
I would never hit record, but listen, everybody that are listening, again, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed a little promo there. As you know, we are back every Thursday night. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Share with your friends. We want to get our subscription. We are again, we're back. We did a lot back in the day on Facebook Live. We are now building our YouTube channel, also Rumble, the Ken and Mike Show. Definitely hit that subscribe, share with your friends. We want to bring that up to 500. Then we got to get to 1,000, and we want to just keep going. So we appreciate you helping us do that.
So,
Yeah, sir.
what format are we going to favor or use for the interactive? How's that going to work?
I'm thinking Rumble
Okay.
because
So are we pointing listeners to Rumble or are we pointing listeners to YouTube?
both
Viewers, sorry.
both right now until YouTube kicks
okay.
us. What do you think? And
Well,
what do you all
YouTube will
think?
kick
Those who are
us
listening,
eventually.
yeah. For those who are listening, what do you think? What is your preference? Now, Rumble is not as big as YouTube, of course, but it's growing big time, and of course they definitely have a lot more, or excuse me, less restrictions. So,
Well, Ken, where do you get your podcast from when you do podcast when you listen?
yeah, I honestly enjoy listening to well, I guess I'll just put it out there. I mean, if I listen to like Matt Walsh, for example, I can do it from the Daily Wire, but he's on YouTube still.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, or any other platform I can listen to his podcast. I usually do it on Amazon Music. That's kind of what I have for all my like app stuff. But I do like Rumble for like Dan Bongino. Dan
Okay.
Bongino is big time over there. So he's probably got he's like the
Well, he
number
may
one
not be
spot.
available much longer if he becomes head of the Secret Service.
Has he been tapped on the shoulder yet?
They are. That's the what's looking like it might happen. At least he's been approached about it.
And he would be great at it too. I know he would. I know he's offered it out there that he would be a great advisor at least.
Right.
He knows his stuff.
But he's making all sorts of money off of his podcast. Would he have to? Obviously, he would have to forego that for at least 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I look at you and I will be available to take that spot if we got
Sure. You know, we can do it as a tag team, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We would just do it, and I mean,
And we'll have to relinquish the reins when he comes back. But for 4 years, I think we can make it happen.
we would do okay. After 4 years, if we had to relinquish, it's fine.
That's fine. So yes, when we had our technological mishap there with our viewership there, I was just reading on Fox Sports, and I guess this is a sign that wokeness is dying.
This is great news.
But Commanders exec makes clear that they're going back to the Redskins.
Hallelujah. Commanders
How
have a ring
awesome is
to it.
that? Yeah, I knew that name was going to change eventually because you can't. Commanders? Really?
We could really open a can of worms here, but I'll just say this. It's what a stupid, pathetic. What that whole narrative was a bunch of bull. Like honestly, like I said, with whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's even the Dolphins, like I was mentioning with PETA, or we can make a case for everything.
I'm going to Google this right now live while we're doing this. But I also think I heard, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
And I want to make sure I'm right before I say it because, that misinformation. But I heard Aunt Jemima's coming back.
Why'd she ever go away?
Aunt Jemima coming back. I overheard that. All right. Nope. See, I'm glad I Googled it. Well, if you can believe anything Google says. No, Aunt Jemima is not coming back.
It's just things like that, though. It's such a disservice. Like it had nothing.
I should take a picture and have it ready for the next show. But sitting in my kitchen on a shelf, I have a display of the Aunt Jemima syrup bottle.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
We'll have to have that.
I think I'm gonna put it on eBay. I know what I got, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know what? But that's just it. And speaking of, you mentioned wokeness earlier. I don't know if we got that on the video actually, but when we were talking during our break there, the reality is though, with that, it's dying, hopefully, and that's a good thing because look at the bottom line is it's been just a movement. Movements either are going to catch fire or they're not, and they're going to trickle out, and that's what we're seeing. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it pushed in your face. Nobody wants you to tell them that you have to kowtow into their delusion. We don't want to do that stuff. If you want to, that's fine. Do your own thing. do your own thing. That's fine. The way that I raise my family, though, is the way that I'm going to raise your family. If you have a problem with it, just stay away from me. Leave me alone. That's all I'm asking. Just stay
Oh,
away from me.
what's that little jingle there? Go woke, go broke.
Go woke, go broke. It's right. And speaking of this all, Mike, this brings me to a topic that we were going to touch on before we kind of start going downhill, or not downhill, but we start getting to the end of our show here. In Tennessee, so we live in a red state, of course. I live in a red state. We have a trial coming up, and actually, it's next Wednesday, I believe. It's like the 4th or something like that, and it's going to the Supreme Court. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. People like Matt Walsh, people and the folks at the Daily Wire, and many of the people here in Tennessee that stood up for rights, children's rights. Look at one thing is that children should have a right to is psychological safety and also physical safety. So when you have these crazy lunatics out there doing quite the opposite, and they want to say in the name of medicine and in the name of their security, they believe that they, when they're 0 years old, essentially, they feel like a woman or feel like a girl. You can start to give them like hormones that are not reversible. That's what we fought for and won. So now we have some, oh my gosh, I almost just said something that probably would get kicked off, get us kicked off, but I didn't say it. We have some people out there that are a little bit
don't hold back, Ken.
Fruity, fruity, that are doing some things. So let's talk about.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Oh, and sometimes you just see them. So here's the thing. What do we know about this? So I'll tell you, I'll give you a little rundown in case folks haven't heard of this at all. So a little bit of background about the Supreme Court case. It's on youth access to gender affirming care. Now, like I said, leave Mike, leave our families alone. If you want to go do something when you're 18, you're out of the house, you're making your own decisions, that's fine. Number one, we don't want to pay for it. That should be right. If you want to do something, you should just go do it.
Right.
Go work for it. Go take out a loan and pay it back if you want it that bad. But we shouldn't be paying for it. And the other thing is you shouldn't be pushing that onto our children either. And when you say you're not, you actually seriously are. And so let's talk about that a little. Just a quick little recap here. What is this youth access to a gender affirming care all about? Well, it's become an increasingly politicized and contentious issue, of course, throughout the recent years. Today, 26 states have actually enacted laws restricting youth access to gender affirming care. Mike, would you disagree with that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So here's the one thing that I think that they're going to fight this on. Okay. This is where the angle that they're taking it. It's unconstitutional. And they're trying to act conservative and saying, well, it's government is coming in and telling us what we can do. So here's the thing. We talked about laws. We talk about morality. We talk about faith, of course. All of these things are necessary. They are absolutely necessary. And when you do something that's going to be physically detrimental and harmful to somebody, that's why we talk about abortion. Some people disagree. Some people that don't even like abortion still say, well, they shouldn't. If people want to do what they want to do, they should just do whatever they want to do, whatever. But the reality is there some places where when parents are really bad parents and they're doing harm to their children, that somebody should come in and protect those kids. That's just the reality. The system is broken. That's for sure. There's a lot of ill play there, but the reality is there's just certain places like this case. I think that this should be on the books, that kids should not have access to something that they know nothing about. They can't make an informed decision. They really are not thinking straight, and they actually need help, period.
Well, that and the statistics are, now that we have an actual good body of work to research, the statistics are showing that those who even went through with it at a young age, by the time they hit adulthood, um, the problems psychologically, physically, even culturally adapting into society have been immense for them. Many of them, I mean, I've heard a couple interviews of people who have transitioned at a young age, and when they got to like 25, 26 years old, what did I do?
Yeah, exactly.
And oh yeah, we just want to encourage our children, let them, figure out who they are and what they want to do. Yeah, that's fine. Let them figure out. Listen, I have no idea. I don't care if boys play with Barbie dolls. I really don't. I don't care if girls play with Tonka trucks. I don't. Let them explore. But let's keep it that way. Let's keep it to exploring.
Yes,
Let's not do permanent malice and butchery to these children for a phase. And that's all it is. It's a phase,
that's it.
or it's a mental illness.
Yep,
There
exactly.
is no in between. It's either a phase or it's a mental illness. If my son comes to me and says, Dad, I like Barbie dolls and I think you should call me Susie. Yeah, sure. Okay. You're 9 years
It's a
old
Johnny
now.
Cash song.
You're 9 years old. You're 10 years old now. Uh, come back and say that to me when you're 17
Exactly.
and see if it hasn't changed.
Exactly. That's
See if
exactly
it,
it.
and it's disgusting. And any human being who is worth their salt as a human being would understand this as being one, abuse, two, just morally bankrupt. It's wrong. There's no mincing words about it. There's no, oh, we're just affirming who they are. That's fine. You could be a rocket ship for all I care. Go stand outside with a candle up your butt and light it. I really don't care. But that doesn't change the fact that that's not who you are.
Right.
And you can play whatever charade you want and pretend all you want, but don't ask me to play along.
Right. Here's a great example too. I mean, and I'm being a little funny, I guess, but if your son said like, Dad, I know I can fly, and he stands up on top of a building, you're not going to just watch him do it. You're going to go up there and be like, dude, you really can't.
You don't know me very well, do you?
Guess I don't. But now I'm talking about a super high building where they'll die. Okay, so like
Oh,
off of a house, like which I used to do with an umbrella and thought I was like Mary Poppins or something like that. That's one thing.
you would make a good Mary Poppins.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So here's the thing. Here's the other thing that's really sick about it too. When these doctors that are doing these things say in the name of medicinal in their medicinal practices, which should be shut down, in they're actually there's a case to be made in there. I mean, there's proof in the pudding too. There's actual proof that they've said these things too. It's a money making scheme too. They take advantage of people so that they can also make an income. It's disgusting to ruin other people's lives for something that put in their pocketbook. So
That's all it is. Because if they actually believe their Hippocratic oath where to cause no harm, this wouldn't even be a question. But
period.
it is 100% money driven. Because you can put them at a young age of putting them on puberty blockers and all sorts of hormone therapies and all that stuff. That makes them money. And then when they come of age, or even do the surgery, we'll even go that far. And then when they come of age and realize that's not what they want, look at all the money that can be made on the back end of that, where now they need therapy.
Yeah,
Okay, that feeds right back into it. Now we need to reverse the damage from all these hormone blockers and puberty blockers and put them on steroids or estrogen or testosterone. So it creates recurring revenue because we can feed into their psychological debauchery and mental illness in one age. And then when they get old enough to realize that they screwed up and that's not who they want to be, now we've created a bigger monster that we can feed with more medicine to try and fix the problem.
exactly. And these are the same people that literally are trying to tell us to our faces that they actually care about these people.
Exactly.
It's disgusting. That's what's so frustrating. And so for you and I, we don't have we're not I'm not a doctor. I'm not a rocket scientist, but we have something that I think that's been lost is that's called common sense. I mean, there's something in deep embedded inside of us. We know where it comes from.
Well, it's
That's wrong.
no, it's common. It's common sense. You're right, but it also goes back to what we talked about in our last show. It is a society that is void of any moral compass, and it's a society that no longer has a moral standard.
Exactly.
No longer trumpets a higher power or an authority of Jesus Christ or God in our culture, which our culture was founded upon, and we no longer lift up the standard of righteousness. That since there's no longer a standard, there's no governing body to say, "Hey, that's wrong," and we're not raising people to understand right and wrong. This is the crap that we get. And if you tell somebody they're wrong now, they look at you like you have 100 heads. It's disgusting.
1,000%. And on that note, let me go ahead and bring this up for you. I would like to get your little feedback here, there, Mr. Mike. We have
Get me on my soapbox, Kenny. I'm getting warmed up.
Oh, I know. I've got here is to kind of put it in the premise for everybody too. So on December 4th, to kind of finish the recap, that December 4th, the Supreme Court is going to actually hear a case challenging the constitutionality of such state restrictions for the first time. All right. So the case before the Supreme Court challenges the Tennessee ban, which is going to be the United States first, and it's Scrimetti, and I'm going to show you a video of Scrimetti in just a moment. This is the lawyer that's going in. Under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, both plaintiffs, 3 families, and a provider who originally challenged the law, and guess who? The Biden administration, one of their last big feats before they leave, as an intervener. So requested review, and the court granted whatever that is, and the challenge brought by the Biden administration. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you this video, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what you think. The first video, by the way, I'll just kind of give a little intro to this, if I can find it. This first video, and I did find it here before it plays there. Give me 1 second. This is essentially people who are really scared out of their minds right now. So let's go ahead and see what we are kind of some of the peeps that we're talking about. I want to get your take on this too, Mike, and then we're going to see Schimetti, who's the one that's actually going to be going into and you kind of see how these kind of tie together a little bit. You kind of see this whole society.
Sadly, not surprised. Kind of shocked at how much of the rest of the country decided to just roll with a platform of utter hatred.
Trump made gender identity a focus of his campaign, indicating that eliminating trans rights would be high priority in office.
Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Many transgender people are worried about job security and a rise in hate crimes.
I hate to say we've been preparing actually since 2020. We started preparing for if he won the 2020 election. So we have been researching countries that are easy to immigrate to for us.
I think that the most important thing that we need to have right now is visibility, because visibility gives others hope. We're in San Francisco, where Harvey Milk came out and changed the world. And I think it's really important to remember that the biggest power that we have as queer people, as trans people, is to be out and visible and powerful, and to get out of places that are unsafe.
Mr. Strangio, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Chase Strangio. I am testifying in opposition to the bill on behalf of the ACLU and the ACLU of Tennessee. I am Deputy Director for Transgender Justice at the ACLU. I have been an attorney at the ACLU for 10 years. I'm currently lead counsel in the ACLU's challenge to Arkansas's ban on care that looks a lot like this one, as well as in ACLU's challenge to Texas's child abuse directives that look similar to the amendments that have just been passed by this committee. So I speak to you today as someone who is actively litigating these issues about the constitutional implications, as well as the cost to the state of Tennessee and Tennessee taxpayers. Courts across the country have recognized that bills like this impermissibly violate the equal protection and due process rights of adolescents, doctors, and their parents. The Northern District of Alabama, the 8th Circuit, and the Supreme Court of Texas have all enjoined measures like this one because they have found that they represent government overreach and intrude upon the fundamental rights of parents to govern the medical decision-making of their minor children, as well as the equal protection rights of transgender adolescents and the doctors who care for them. I just got out of a 2-week trial in Arkansas in which many of the legislative findings that are in this bill were tested and which they were found to be categorically untrue. And just by way of a few examples, it is not true that this medical care is experimental, not in the scientific nor in the colloquial sense. There are decades of studies testing the efficacy and safety of this treatment.
Where the heck did he get his law degree?
What's that?
Where the heck did that guy get his law degree?
I don't. Some transgender gender studies organization.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean,
I am by no means an educated man, but even I can say that's BS.
The efficacy of that, like honestly, that it's not experimental. Has this been? I mean, look at there's been cases, of course, throughout the years, but to this level and to this extent, when doctors themselves are saying that this is I mean, they've said this is experimental. This is the kind of people that are fighting on behalf. I mean, it's super sad. It's sick that these people are coming out of the woodworks and coming in here and trying to change policy like that.
All right, number one, why are we? Sorry, this has got me angry, or not angry, just frustrated. Why are we pandering or even entertaining this? What percentage of society before? All right, I got two schools of thought on this. Number one, right now, what percentage of society would actually classify themselves as transgender? I'm sure it's a small percentage. I'm sure. We'll go to an extreme case here. All right, I don't even know the numbers. I can't even entertain it. But I think if I said it was even 12%, it'd be a lot. And prior to us pushing this narrative and piping it into our youth's ears and piping it on media and news and everywhere else, prior to that, I would assume that the percentage of people that identified as transgender would be less than 1%. So why are we perpetuating a narrative or even trying to cater to such a small minutia of the population to make them feel better and ostracize and make the rest of society uncomfortable?
Exactly.
And I would venture to say that the people that are signing this legislation and that were voting this, not even the people that are trumpeting it, the people that are finally voting on it and authorizing it and putting stuff like this into law, they know it's wrong.
1,000%.
They absolutely know it's wrong. And they're trying to, I don't know if there's some sort of kickback, some sort of financial gain for even the people that sign this legislation, or even it makes no sense to me. I'm not educated enough to even articulate my frustration with this. But in one of the parts of that clip there, one of those man child thing women, I have no idea what it was saying, well, we feel unsafe. Try doing this in Iran. Try doing this in the Middle East. Try saying, you're born a boy and all of a sudden, you're born Ben and now you're Brenda. Try doing this over there. Let me tell you what the outcome is. Yeah, over here, you might have laws that make you feel uncomfortable that you don't have equal opportunity of a freaking bathroom because you want to go into a different restroom. But, try doing that over in the Middle East. You'll find yourself in a shallow rock pit.
Exactly. Or thrown off a building. I mean, there's been absolute cases that's the reality. So when they talk about safety, like who really is saying anything to them at all? I mean, you and I, nothing. Honestly, don't care. But they literally they have to have whether they have their parades or whether they have to make sure they do things like this, while people are literally fighting for the rights of children, like literally fighting for the rights of children. And that's the reality. Our country needs to be safe in every area, inside and out. All right. So military, people don't like to talk about the military because it's, obviously military is it's a tough thing. People don't, we talked about barbarianism before, but in barbaric, that's military for you. It's called making sure people are safe. And same thing, that to me is barbaric in itself. When you're mutilating a child, when you're doing things that are completely making them something that they're actually not, nothing they can do to change who exactly they are, period.
It's like whoever goes out there with that has the loudest group, the biggest sign, makes the most noise, is the ones that the media puts up as their poster child for change. I mean, how about you and I just start going outside and we won't start picketing white supremacy or anything. Well, I just think we're going to start picketing woke supremacy.
Yeah,
We'll just put a sign up there. We're tired of being marginalized by liberal supremacy and woke supremacy. That I feel like I can no longer live comfortably in this country and have equal rights as everybody else because I'm too busy pandering to what you want to do, and I might say the wrong thing. And next thing I'm being canceled because I didn't call Jim Jill.
exactly. Exactly. Sorry, it's not going to happen. I mean, there's been cases where people go up there like, I will not be referred to as such and such. I will
You know what
not
it's going to cause? It's either going to cause the system to break and we're all going to cow to it and we're all going to bow down and do it, or the inverse is going to happen. You're going to say that you're getting marginalized. People are saying things about you, calling your names. You're going to get people angry enough that they're going to start calling you Fruit Loop right out into your face. They're going to start going out in the streets and screaming all the names that we never were calling you, but we're going to start doing because the lunacy is getting crazy. If you're going to, listen, I'll tell a story from when I was a kid. I I was such an idiot kid, and I was doing stupid things that my father accused me of smoking pot. Okay. And he kept accusing me of smoking pot, kept accusing me of smoking pot, kept accusing me of smoking pot. And I kept denying, kept denying, kept denying. I said, well, listen, if you're not going to keep accusing me of smoking pot, I'm just going to start saying I'm smoking pot. And because the culture is not going to change in this household. If you're going to accuse me of doing it, regardless, you're still going to treat me the same way. So you're going to sit there and spew all this narrative in the culture. Well, yeah, you're going to perpetuate hatred, and people are going to start hating you because they're tired of hearing it, and they're tired of having to change their lives and cater to your mental illness.
Precisely. Well said.
So, you know what? I'm going to call you all those names. You keep this up.
Yep.
I want to be civil. I want to be graceful. I want to, I want to, kill them with kindness, love them anyway, let them believe their delusion. And you don't need to call them out for it and embarrass them. But if you're going to affect my lifestyle, affect my pocketbook, affect the way I speak to people, change my language, change my laws, and make it where it's uncomfortable for me to live in this country, I'm going to call you every other name of the book because the penalty is going to be the same regardless.
Exactly. That's very well said, man. And that's just it right there. So it's interesting how they're able to, like if you're in, and this has happened to me before, where I'm in with somebody that is like transgender or something, and they start talking what they believe in, and they have no problem with it. Even they didn't read the room, they don't even know what they just say whatever they want, and it's just like they say it in a way that makes you feel like, okay, if I were to say something right now, I would definitely be, pushed aside or tattled on, and that's what's super sad. And they just assume.
You know what? Hold on a second, kid. You know why I think this is all a lie? It's all just a big lie. Do you go around telling everybody you're a man?
No, that's just it. I don't need to. I don't need anybody to affirm me.
Why is this your identity? If you need that affirmation, if you really believe that's who you are, what do you care what I believe? Why do you have to make that known?
That's the point. Exactly.
I mean, I am not Michelle. I don't go around there and tell everybody I'm Michelle. I don't go. Listen, I think it's pretty obvious. But if you have any doubts, Kenny, I'm a man. And I have the equipment to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. I've never doubted it for a second, Mike. Maybe once or twice, but that's it. But so Matt Walsh said it best. Like he's had his, he goes on his debate sometimes. That's what he said. He said, "Why?" So you said all your friends tell you that you're definitely like woman like. Why do you need your friends to tell you that if you actually really are? Why do you need that affirmation? I don't have my buddies call me and be like just randomly, like you don't call me Mike and say, hey Ken, hey Mike, what's up? What's going on, man? I just needed to call you. It was on my heart to tell you. You're such a man.
You're such a man. You are so masculine. I can't believe how strong and alpha you come across. Right. Oh my gosh. Are you sure you don't have a vagina? That's right. Because you are coming off so masculine.
I appreciate that, man. I feel really better about myself now. I can go to bed tonight knowing that I really am a man. That's the point. That's where it tells you there's something else going on here. Exactly. It's a sick fad game. But you know how you go through fads, like people wear these types of jeans, or people are doing this type of thing, or you're a punk rocker, or you're in grunge back in the 90s, whatever it was. It's like that, but on such a whole disgusting other level that you're literally doing
Right, because
something
even then you
can't
could look at the
change again.
person and know they were grunge. You could look at the person and know they identified a certain way.
And it
I
was
think my
fine.
lifestyle, I think your lifestyle, my lifestyle, I would hope would identify that, that we have a moral standard and we're Christians, but we don't go out there screaming, I'm a Christian. I identify as a Christian. I want special rights. Who a racist is. He doesn't have to go out there and put a sign over his head and say, I'm a racist.
Right. Exactly.
You know them by their fruit, and you know them by but who they are and what and how they carry themselves. But listen, the narrative that you have to, if your whole identity is wrapped up in this, you trying to tell me who you are and how I have to identify you as, you don't believe the lie yourself.
Period. Yep. That's right. That's right. Well, listen, on that note,
getting on my soapbox again.
Yeah, no, it's good. As we're kind of closing here, it's kind of closing on a lighter note here. So the reality is life is actually really good. We got lots of good things to look forward to. A lot of good changes coming. We talked about the Indians coming back. That's a great thing. Those types of things are absolutely necessary. I don't think that we have to hold on crazy tight to our seats in these next 4 years. I really do think that it's going to be booming. It's going to be great. Is there going to be obstacles? 1000%. But even these people, if they would realize and just embrace what America actually is, they'd see that they're not losing anything. They're not going to lose anything. We want to protect our kids. We want to thrive in every area, but we even want them to thrive. And we want them to see certain things because honestly, you and I, we could say this, we absolutely do care about them very much. And that's why we want to see them change. We joust and we joke and things like that. But it's that outrageous that you kind of have to keep ourselves sane in the insanity.
Right. If we wouldn't speak so strongly about it if we didn't care.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's right.
If I didn't care, we wouldn't talk about it and be free for all for everybody. Whatever.
Exactly.
We don't want to see you hurt, and ultimately, we want to see you come to a loving relationship with Jesus Christ.
That's exactly it.
Yep. We can, like you just said, we can joke around back and forth, and be a little tongue in cheek, if you will. But the end result is, we don't want you hurt either. We want the best for you as well. And and truth, you may not believe that, but that is the truth.
Yep.
And going through these procedures, putting yourself through that, you need to seek medical attention, but it's not through the surgeon.
1000%.
You
Get to the root issue.
Yeah, there's something else that's going on, and I think that's a topic for another show, and I have theories about that as well.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. There's a lot to talk about. We haven't even got to so much of all the other meat type things right now. Speaking of meat, we got turkey coming up on Thursday again, but the reality is not Butterball. But we want to definitely make sure that we are stating a couple things before we do kind of close off here. Please, again, like and subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. We are going in different directions here, but we're gonna kind of figure that all out as we go. Please go to our listen everywhere you get your podcast. We are there. Apple, leave a rating there and a review on Apple Podcasts.
If we had a bigger platform, Ken, I'd put a poll up there asking, should Mike cook the Butterball turkey?
Oh, you know what? You should still. Okay, everybody in the comments below of wherever you're watching this video.
Do I cook it and eat it anyway?
Yes. Does he cook it and eat it anyway? Now, you maybe even watch it afterwards. Please still put your comment in there. We'd still like to hear your opinion.
I'll let you know if I ate it.
Yeah. Then you'll find out next Thursday. I will be asking that question on the Ken and Mike show. Mike, did you eat the Butterball turkey? And what was the flavor like? But the reality is...
but it was moist.
Gosh. But listen, everybody, we appreciate you so much. We have a lot to get to. Trump's cabinet picks. Love to hear your opinions on that as well. We haven't talked about it yet. We'll kind of maybe touch on that next time as well, because there's some good ones out there. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And And we have some theories. I think Mike and you and I were talking about. I don't know if we talked about this on the last show either about his cabinet picks, but we will touch on this on the next show as well. Is how these last 4 years, maybe they were necessary for some of these people to kind of rise up. Was that you and I having that discussion?
I think so, yeah.
And it was a good time for everybody. Said maybe they wouldn't have stepped up at the time. Now there's an opportunity for people to actually kind of come out. And we've seen the changes, whether it was Tulsi Gabbard and other people that were on the other side, Kennedy, many people that really have had enough with that, with the literally with the left, with all of it, with making America completely unhealthy in so many ways, especially mentally. Yes, physically, but mentally. And so they want to change that. And again, it's for the better, 100%.
Hey, I'm rooting for RFK to do something about our food.
Yeah, me too.
Because I can't say no. So if the government takes the crap out of it, I'll stop eating it.
Could you just make it organic, actually organic, and like way more accessible and cheaper?
Make food again.
Make food again. Exactly. It's not. It's not. But
all right, Kenny.
As always, Mike, great show. Everybody else, again,
Kenny, enjoy your Thanksgiving.
You too.
Everybody out there, enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you go to all our channels, share with your friends. A lot coming down the pipeline. We are excited to be back. Mike, always a pleasure. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, sir. Don't eat too much. But
I'll eat a lot of stuffing.
Is that your favorite thing?
Yeah, I like the stuffing.
Okay.
And, apparently my turkey.
You took the words out of my mouth. Okay. Everybody, peace out. We will see you later on the Ken and Mike Show. Take care, everybody.
God bless.